It's one of the hottest days of the year, so let's get some ice up to the Reindeer. Those are each 25-pound bags. So we got 75 pounds to give them. Get this bag out of the way of the camera here in a minute after I get it over. Okay. All right. Hi, Holly. Yeah, keep them critters away. Okay. All right. Start out 50 pounds. Okay. I got another bag down there. Hey, reindeers. Ready for some ice? Woo! Hi, Rocket. There you go, bud. Woo! Get the other pool. So did you get in the other pool?
Yeah.
Okay. You staying cool, Holly? Alright. That'll help cool it down. Alright. Let's go get the other bag. Another bag. Alright. So today's like 98 degrees, sunny, 60-some% humidity. It's not the worst it's gonna get. But it's one of the hottest days this year. Hi, Annabelle. She's got a pool down here, fresh water. Reindeer, we always get asked, like, how do they deal with the heat? Because, you know, they're Arctic animals. And the answer is they adapt. They've got several cool physiological features that let them adapt to hot temperatures and cold temperatures. So let's give them this extra ice here first. You want this for that? Okay. When it's hot out, you always gotta spray. When it's hot out, you always gotta spray and keep things clean. And so, Emily's spraying, getting rid of any poop or anything that's here. Anytime it's hot, that stuff starts to fester. There starts to be flies, you know, things like that. This water we filled up this morning. You know, it's probably 50 degrees or something, but let's see how fast it melts. But this is going to lower that water quite a bit. It'll be a lot more refreshing. Once we get done with this, spraying this out, Rocket will actually go in there and he'll kick around a bit, stick his feet in. Whew. Go out here so you guys can hear me easier. So reindeer have this interesting ability to control the vascular system in their legs and their torso. So in the winter time, their legs can get down to 33 degrees Fahrenheit, so right above freezing. And because there's like no muscles in there really, it's all tendons. So they keep all the heat in their upper body, and they don't lose any through the legs. That's why you'll notice their legs are so skinny. Well, in the summertime, they can do the opposite. They'll stand in water, and as long as that water gets up over their ankles, they will turn on the pumps basically, and they'll shoot all this blood flow through their legs. And that's why his legs right now, you know, they're kind of wet, because he was standing in the water when we first put the ice in. And so they'll actually pump all that blood through there, and that'll lower their body temperature in their whole body then. So we're always sure that we have pools up here for them. This is their deeper pool, so it lets them get a little bit deeper up the lake. But Emily's also filling up their smaller pool over there. Sometimes they've got a splash pad. You know, we switch these things out to kind of keep them engaged, I guess. It's like enrichment. You know, you don't want them to have the same pool every time. But, oh, so he's gonna try to eat some ice. Yeah, you like that ice? Woo! It's good, huh? He likes to eat the ice, likes to hoof at it and everything. We make them not just these ices, but sometimes giant blocks of ice so they can kick at it and everything. Oh. There we go, buddy. A lot of times you can spray their legs, and that'll do the same thing as standing in the water, but these guys don't. They don't love having their legs sprayed. So anyway, this is kind of actually the last step of making sure they are cool. First step is fans. We're gonna see fans, 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 fans. It's like a hurricane in here basically. There are always fans going. You can see Emily's hair blowing. There are no dead spots in here. We've been sure of that. So there's just a ton of air moving around all the time. And not only does that help with the heat, because it is way better in that barn right now than it is out here. I can tell you that much. It's better for the heat, but also it keeps the flies off. So the flies like just can't handle the turbulence and they can't land. And so we very rarely have any actual flies in the barn. Another layer, concrete. The concrete it's kind of a heat sink. At night it'll get cooler, and it takes a while to heat up because it's in the shade. And we always have water on it and whatnot. So the concrete helps keep things cool. Our barn is wooden, in case you haven't noticed. So there are little, you know, slats, openings where the air moves in and out. There are eaves that allow the air out, and there's also a ridge vent. So all of this promotes airflow through the barn. We have woods behind the barn, and so oftentimes they'll get a nice cool breeze like coming from that direction, and it'll help cool the barn as well. There's a few modifications I would have made if I rebuilt this barn to make the airflow even better, but you know, it works pretty good right now. And our vet does like the fact that it's wooden, so it actually breathes instead of like a metal-sided barn. Yeah, they also have a summer coat, and what you're seeing right now is the summer coat. They look totally different in the wintertime. Their summer coat is real short, and when they first get here from Alaska, their coat is a little bit longer in the summertime because they haven't gotten used to the temperatures they're going to be in. And so after they've been here for a little bit, the next year, their coats are much thinner. And so you'll notice now, like, his coat is real thin. It's what? It's only about that long. Yeah, and in the wintertime, their coat will be way longer. So their fur is part of it. They have hollow fur just like they do in the wintertime, which it'll keep them warm in the wintertime, and it helps cool them in the summer. You'll notice that he looks wet, but this isn't wet. This is actually oil. So they produce oil, which gets all over their fur, and you'll notice that in the summertime, his fur forms these little strands. That's what lets all of that air through there. You know, it's all these little strands. It's not like a big fluffy thick coat. Even this part, you know, this is a lot thinner than his winter. I know, buddy, it's a lot thinner than his winter coat. So their coat has a lot to do with it. They also are, they have a tremendous respiratory system. Like, they can breathe a lot. People will always ask, like, oh, are they breathing heavy? Nope, that's just the way reindeer breathe, whether it's wintertime or summertime. And so they can move a lot of air. And so that's also part of it. Overall, a lot of it is just pools. We introduced ice this year, and they love the ice. You know, if it was still in that pool, we'll have another bag here soon. He likes to kind of go ice bobbing. He'll actually try to get a couple pieces and chew it. Make sure the hose is always ran. You know, that's why Emily was spraying earlier a bit. She was feeling the temperature of the water, making sure that it was actually cool and not hot. You know, and honestly, fans are a big part. So another thing to mention about the heat, it's kind of hard to train reindeer. They are domesticated, but you know, they need training like any other domesticated animal. Rocket's thinking about getting in there. Yeah, he loves to splash. Reindeer are terrific swimmers, by the way. You know, they're very buoyant, especially because of that hollow hair. But they're difficult to train because you only have a specific time of the year. Don't pee in the pool. Don't pee in the pool. All right, good. He missed it. Sometimes he pees in the pool. You've only got certain times of the year. We don't ever work them unless it's under about 74 degrees. Anything higher than that, and it's just too hot to work them. And by working, I mean like try to do any training with them, even if it's just walking. We don't do that. It's, you know, it can stress them out, and they might not like it, and they're hot and they're bothered, and it's just not good. So we basically just leave them alone in the summertime. You know, they get interaction with us, but we don't try to train them. The other thing, we get asked about Christmas and July events a lot. We don't do Christmas and July events. We don't do any events in any sort of hot weather. Even if you had fans going in the trailer, it would just be too hot in the trailer. You know, what if you're stuck in traffic? Not only that, but like once you get there, you'd have to hook up tons of these fans just to keep them cool. Like, they would just be miserable. And you don't want to ever introduce stress if you don't have to. So we don't do anything unless it's actually a cooler day. And typically that starts around like October or so. These fans, these are all controlled by a temperature control, which I can show you in here. You can see it's in the 90s out, but in this barn it's 84 degrees. Anything above 72, this will automatically kick on all of our fans. Then in certain times of the year, when it's a little bit cooler out and they don't need the fans unless they're up here, we have motion detectors that run, and so as soon as they come in, the fans will kick on for 30 minutes, and all they got to do is just move their antlers a little bit and they'll kick back on after that 30 minutes. But that keeps the power bill down. You can probably guess we use a ton of water. Our water bill's not cheap. You know, they pee in the pool, they poop in the pool, whatever. There's also their oils get in the pool. We don't want them drinking any of that. So we are constantly dumping pools, giving them fresh water, making sure that everything they have is clean. Emily's the unsung hero. She's out here all the time cleaning everything. So, you know, there's no poop on here. We did not prepare this just for this video. This is just how it is. There's no poops up here. There's not gonna be any poops on the ground, really. You know, she's up here all the time, even if it's super hot, cleaning all this. We put their food out here because they have pools in here, and if we put too much stuff in here, they start to fight over it, and they start to kind of like push each other around, and they're more likely to run into the wall, which will scrape an antler. And if it scrapes an antler, we'll have to spray it and treat it, keep the flies off of it. So we put the food out here, and that lets them come out here and eat whenever they want to. They have a sail shade, a giant shade here. I think it's 12 by 24, and that gives them shade 24 hours a day. So even you know, when the sun is direct over here. That was a problem we noticed right away, was that the sun would shine into the barn and they didn't have any shade, so we quickly put this up. This is up all year round. I bought it off Amazon, and so far it's a very good product. You know, it hasn't ripped or anything, and it's under some tremendous stress. Like these things, these poles were in the ground with concrete, a good 4 foot, and it was already trying to move those poles, so we had to put another pole in, put some more concrete in, and you notice I got, you know, 1/4 inch steel cables holding the whole thing. When this gets under snow load, you know, that's what you need. So that's part of how we keep them cool as well. Lastly, this is on top of a hill, so there's a breeze right now. You know, you can't really see it, but you know, maybe you can see the leaves there. There is a breeze. That's why Holly likes to dig herself a little pit and sit. There's a breeze up here on top of the hill. That helps out as well. So we do all sorts of these things to keep these guys cool. And you know, we trialed out this ice maker, and I think we're going to end up getting a commercial ice maker that makes, you know, instead of 130 pounds a day, we want one that makes like 500 or 700 or more. You know, that way we can really have ice for them all the time. Oh, you gonna eat a cookie? Oh, he's a cookie monster. Rocket loves his Barnum brand cookies, so sometimes if they're hot, they also don't want to eat. In fact, let's get his temperature. Try that. We monitor the temperatures all the time electronically. It maintains an electronic database, so we can see exactly what times and which deer, what their temperatures were on which days, and that helps you maintain a baseline, helps you identify any diseases right away. Like if they're not showing symptoms, you can still see based on the temperatures if something's going on. So. Oh, so it went off there, but I'm gonna show it again. Searching. There we go. So 102.4. So
1 degree higher than rectal.
Yeah, it's about 1 degree higher than rectal, because Emily came out here and she took rectal as well as that several times a day for a couple weeks, just to make sure that we knew what the baseline was. As these chips settle, she found out from the documentation that they do change temperature. So they, in our case, they got more accurate the more time went on, and got closer to the rectal temperature. She's spraying him now with some, it's a permethrin solution, and so that's for flies. Keeps flies off of his legs. But again, that's also why we change the water all the time, is because we got to spray for flies, keep flies off of their legs, because otherwise they're kicking and they're not eating, not drinking. But they also like to step in the pool. So if they step in the pool, the permethrin can come off, and it forms a little layer. It's not harmful to them or anything, but we just don't want it sitting on top of the water and just turning bad. So this water, yeah.
This is a really good sign. He's eating.
Yeah.
So like he's not that hot.
Yep.
He's out here grazing.
Yeah, so if you couldn't hear, Annabelle's out here grazing in the sun. He's sitting here eating. If they're eating, it means that they're not too hot. If they're stopping everything just to stand in front of a fan, they're too hot. And his temp of 102, like that's typically what we see on a normal day. Yeah. 102.1, 102.3, 102.4. So he's definitely not overheated. Now, if they're working hard in the sun, like running around, their temps can get, you know, 105 on that chip. No. And it, not 105, 104. What was hers the other day? It
was 104 on here, so then it was 103 rectally.
Okay.
And then it dropped down to normal within like 15 minutes.
Yeah, so hers, again, if you couldn't hear it, it was 104 on the scanner, 103 rectally, and it dropped down within like 15 minutes to her normal. But you know, that's an example. Their temp can go up real quick if they're working in the hard heat, but if their temp is what we just read with him, they're all good. She's showing good signs by walking around and everything. This water here, as soon as the water starts to like just get hot, Emily will pour it out and replace it with new water. You know, we don't want them drinking hot water or anything. So yeah, all in all, that's all that you have to do to keep reindeer cool in the summertime. You know, it's a lot different than any other animal. We always tell people they're hard to take care of. This is just an example. And honestly, there's no dead spot in here, but this is kind of an amalgamation of fans. If we, you know, when we expand a barn or something, I'm probably going to get nothing but these large 36-inch oscillating fans. Those are awesome at, you know, they make sure there's no dead spots. This guy here is actually an exhaust fan. It puts out very fast air. It's very powerful. And we just turn that on as needed. But I would definitely get more of those fans there. We also have a 48-inch fan that we can place in here on really like dire situations where there's low humidity, because we have a sort of swamp cooler that we can hook up to it, and that swamp cooler will help cool the air that rushes over that 48-inch fan, and it'll help lower the temp of the barn as well. But we really rarely need to do that, and it takes up lots of room and blah blah blah. So she's got diatomaceous earth. She's just going to spread on the ground, keep any...
She's drinking her cold water.
Oh yeah, cold water out of the bucket. She's got another pool down there. I mean, we have like what we call a pool graveyard behind the barn or the shed, and it's just tons of pools. She's spreading this because we've had issues with some insects laying larvae in the soil, and we just want to cut down on it. And we also don't want any beetles or anything crawling around here. You know, like, we're just trying to keep any vectors of disease away. And so that's part of that. Yeah, we don't spray any actual insecticides other than maybe the permethrin, but we spray it around some key areas that the flies congregate, but we don't spray it just cover on the ground, because these guys will eat the grass. And so you don't want that being ingested by any sort of ruminant. So it just goes around key areas where the flies are gonna hang out, anywhere that's kind of always, you know, got some moisture or something, which we're always trying to get rid of too. Like, we're always getting rid of any areas where moisture hangs out. You know, we've tried mulch here. We've also had rock here. You know, it's always just a learning curve, figuring out what works best. Concrete is frankly one of the best, but you know, you can't concrete the whole thing. So concrete, rock works really well. Other people have had great luck with mulch. Our mulch, as you can tell, like, it tends to get muddy and hang on to moisture a lot, so we probably won't redo that. But she's back out to get some more poops. So yeah, that's all you got to do. Now, so someone else is going to ask, what about air conditioning? There are some reindeer farmers that have had air conditioning in their barns. There are also anecdotal stories. I don't know the specifics, but we've heard from other farmers that it can cause pneumonia in the reindeer. I don't know what action, you know, causes that. I don't know the truthfulness of it. I've just, you know, it's an anecdotal story. So I don't know anybody that actually runs AC in their barns, but you know, anything that messes with the humidity too much, any big humidity changes can be rough on these guys. So you know, maybe that's part of it, going from inside to outside and having a huge humidity change when they do that. That could be it. I'm not sure, but that's why most places, you know, they won't have AC for the reindeer. I will say though, that, like, in the future, what I'd love to do, I'd love to have a more passive sort of ventilation system, where this is actually our vet's suggestion. You know, part of the roof will have a gap at the top, which, as air moves over it in one direction, it creates a low pressure zone and sucks the air out of the top of this. That way you don't have to have like an exhaust fan, and it helps get some of that urea and pneumonia smell out of the barn. That would be great. I would also love to have some air curtains, sort of like, you know, if you've ever been in a theme park and you walk through the door and, you know, a big blast of air hits you from the top and then it's cold inside. Those air curtains will actually keep the two different temperatured areas from mixing a lot. And so I'd love to have an air curtain that blows down, which would not only keep all the flies out and blow anything off of them as they enter, but it would help keep this area cool. Another guy that I just saw on one of the reindeer groups had a great idea. I hope it works out for him. I'd love to hear. He's actually putting in radiant pipes inside his concrete. Normally that would be used for heating. You know, radiant heating is a common thing for people. But he's actually got himself a spring of some sort, or a well, and he's actually going to hook it up to this groundwater and he's gonna have it run through his pad. And that is a really great idea. You know, I gotta admit, that would be something I'd be really interested in the future if we, you know, whenever we rebuild a pad or something, put some of those pipes through it. And, you know, especially if we have some industrial ice machines, we'd have an unlimited amount of ice basically. And I would just sit there and run those pipes through the ice machine or something as a radiator, and just cool that water or glycol or whatever, what have you, as it moves to the floor, or even the walls. You know, like if you ran that through some concrete walls, I think that'd be great as well. I've seen some other videos where people have swamp coolers, actually large ones that move along the whole wall. That could work really great, but the problem with swamp coolers where we are is we're in a high humidity area. Typically, you know, we just have high humidity all year, except in the winter time, and swamp coolers only really work if you have low humidity. So, you know, that I don't know that would actually be worth all of the effort, but we're always open to new technological options to keep these guys cool and comfortable. You know, they're not breathing through their mouth. Neither one of them. Annabelle's down there drinking out of, you know, they will pant like a dog, you know, if they get really hot. And so you can tell that these guys are doing okay. Some people, you know, we've heard have had like far fewer fans, you know, a single box fan or something. You just can't do that. They need to stay cool. And in the wild, if they were a, you know, a wild caribou or something, if they were a feral reindeer even, you know, they'd find a creek or something to get to. They would go to either a highland area of a mountain or something, or they would go to a lowland creek or a lake, and they find ways to stay cool and get away from flies. But when you have domesticated reindeer like this, and you're the one taking care of them, you know, it's all on you. You got to make sure that you do everything you can to keep them comfortable. And there's really no such thing as too expensive or, you know, too time consuming when it comes to these guys. Like, if they need something, you do it. You figure out a way to make it work and you do it. Frankly, that's what makes these guys difficult to care for, and why you don't see them in the zoo. You know, they're just, it takes a different level of care for them. They're not, listen, if you want to get rich, reindeer is not really the thing to do. You could make a lot more money with a typical, you know, petting zoo or something, and having miniature cows or something. But for my wife and I, and for many other reindeer owners, you just love these animals, and you just love reindeer. You love Christmas, you love reindeer. You know, that's why you have them. They're just so special. And anyway, before I get on that whole topic, that's how we keep reindeer cool in the summertime. So any questions, just leave me a comment, you know, leave a comment under the video. We're more than happy to answer anything, more than happy to talk about them and give you even more information. So yeah, hope you all have a good day. Thanks.